I'm Jonathan Keaton, and right beside me is Michael Wood, and welcome to 1497 Podcast.
And we've got you covered with news from the entertainment world, intriguing interviews, everything to do with sports, and of course, we're going to make you laugh along the way.
And I want my damn respect too.
Podcast, baby. It's Jonathan Keaton in the house with the greatest co-host to ever touch planet Earth, Mr. Wood, aka the Woodster, aka the Green Eye Demon, aka Michael Wood is in the house. What's good? What's good, Mike?
What's up, John? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, Bills beat the Patriots in the playoffs, and now I'm looking forward for the Bills to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. How about you?
Not doing good. The Eagles got worked by the Bucks. My man Derek Carr didn't pull through, and a whole lot. But we'll get right into it by talking about the last playoff game of the wild card round: Rams versus Cardinals, or I guess Cardinals at Rams. Who do you got?
I got the Rams in this one. My brother just told me before the show that J.J. Watt's going to play, but I think Matthew Stafford wants to set a point being, I'm here to win, and that's what I came here to do. And I think they're going to be riding off of just anger of playing not great football from the last month and a half. And on top of that, I think every single player besides Matthew Stafford, they have points that they need to be proved. And it all starts against Arizona. And Arizona is not a good team when D-Hop doesn't play. So I got the Rams.
Yeah, I got the Rams for a little bit of a different reason. So I'm going based off the Cardinals 49ers game. I really thought the Cowboys 49ers game, pardon me. I'm pretty sure I picked the Cowboys, but in the back of my mind, I knew that the 49ers were going to win. But I kind of let all the radio and TV personalities sway me otherwise because everyone was taking the Cowboys. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, the Rams and Cardinals are pretty even as far as score offense, scoring defense, score margin. They're both top 10 for offense, and they're both top 10 in score margin. But the Cardinals do something that the 49ers do really well, and that's run the ball. But the biggest difference between these two teams is the Cowboys. I'm going back and forth. Sorry if it gets a little confusing. The Cowboys are the most penalized team in the NFL. They had 14 penalties yesterday. So what happens in the playoffs is your weaknesses become bigger than they were in the regular season in the playoffs, and your strengths become bigger than they were in the regular season. So what you do really well, you're going to do really well in the playoffs, and what you do really bad, you're going to do really bad in the playoffs. The Cardinals are the fourth most penalized team. And then the Rams are the third least penalized team. So for that reason alone, because I think they're actually pretty evenly matched, and obviously you said they're not very good without D-Hop. I trust in Kyler. I think he's going to make some plays. I don't really trust Matt Stafford, so I think it's going to be close because the quarterback play is going to favor Arizona. But at the end of the day, you can't do anything about people committing penalties, so I got to pick the Rams.
Yeah, I like that pick, and I like the breakdown that you did. And I want to tag on your penalties point real quick. As much as Kyler Murray, as good as Kyler Murray plays, some of those plays might be drawn back because they're the third most penalized team in the NFL. We saw plays in the Cowboys game where Dak got the ball to Dalton Schultz, and then they had to come back because of holding and because of false start penalties. It's just setbacks, and they didn't have comebacks off of those setbacks. So for them to beat the Rams, they have to not penalize. They can't kill themselves in the penalty game, because if they do, that's just going to set them back more and more and more. And that's going to play into the field position game with the Rams, giving them better and better field position throughout the whole game.
Yeah, I do think it's going to be a really close game. A lot of people have said that it's going to be a close game, but I think they're just saying that because the teams are both pretty good, not really giving a whole lot of breakdown. I like what we did. We kind of explained why. But if the Cardinals pull it off, I won't be surprised. I'll say that. But they're going to have to overcome a lot, especially because that pass rush of LA is going to get home. They're going to pressure Kyler Murray. Kyler's a mobile guy, but So is Aaron Donald, Von Miller, and then all the other cats that they got on that team. So I expect it to be a really good game, but at the end of the day, they're playing at LA too. So actually, one thing I want to say is Matt Stafford, they played a home game against the 49ers, last game of the season, and he said that the other team's fans were so loud he couldn't hear. So that's something to keep an eye out for. The LA Rams fans didn't show up when they played at home against the 49ers. So what if they don't show up this game and there's more Cardinals fans? I doubt that'll happen 2 times in a row, but if it does, Matt Stafford's going to have his ears full, and his legacy is going to be in question big time.
Yeah, I think Arizona. I don't know how loyal Arizona fans are, because Arizona to Los Angeles, it's not like a drive, but it's a drive. It's like a 5-hour, 37-minute drive. So it's not terrible, but you would want it to be a little bit better going into it. But I think the Cardinals fans are going to show out there. And one more thing, it kind of seems like we're like trying to move our way towards the Cardinals side, because the Cardinals been really good on the road. I think they're 8-1 or 9-1 on the road this season. So that's going to play a big part. I'm glad you brought that up, because the playoff atmosphere, if that comes alive again, but in the Cardinals' favor, that's going to help the Cardinals out a lot in SoFi.
I agree. It's going to be extremely interesting. But let's talk about games that have already happened and players that just didn't really show up. Who had your most underwhelming performance from this weekend?
If we're talking about team performance, I got to say the Eagles. I'm sorry, but I thought the Eagles were going to give the Buccaneers a run for their money, and I think they got robbed. And the reason I think that is, I think it was Brandon Graham, the defensive tackle, going in for a sack with Tom Brady. And it wasn't really like that late of a hit that he had on Tom Brady, because his motion was still going with him. And it's hard to stop your motion while gravity is taking you. So I think them calling roughing the passer changed the whole momentum of the game. And I think that was one of the biggest plays of the game, because not only that, after that play, Buccaneers, they get a first down, they drive down the field, and they score a touchdown. Then they stop the Eagles, and they just, ever since that touchdown, they just never put their foot off the gas pedal. And the Eagles just couldn't pick it up from there. It's just all the momentum, all the electricity just got sucked right out of them. And it was just bad to worse for the Eagles. And I think I would have to give their performance, I would have to give the worst performance towards that.
Yeah, I mean, most disappointing. Yeah, I mean, I personally, I told you, I just didn't think that there was a huge chance for the Eagles on game day. Yesterday, I had a lot more hope. I was really rooting for the Eagles, but the whole week I was like, no way we win. It got to Sunday. I was like, you know what? Maybe we can. Yeah, I mean, that was Derek Barnett, by the way, who had the roughing the passer.
Yeah.
I didn't agree with that call. There was a lot of calls in that game. Jalen Hurts got hit out of bounds. They didn't throw a flag. That's Tom Brady. They're most likely throwing a flag, but when it comes down to it, at the end of the half, the Eagles had 3 chances to cut it to a 2-score game and then get the ball at halftime, score, and then it's a 1-score game. And those 3 chances, honestly, they could have, if they would have scored on all 3 possessions they had at the end of the half, they would have been leading at halftime. So I honestly don't know. I do blame the Eagles a little bit, but personally, I never gave them a chance. The team that had the most disappointing performance was the Dallas Cowboys. The boys. Are you kidding me? This is one of the best offenses in the league, one of the best defenses. I put that in quotes. They're supposed to be turnover machines. Jimmy G doesn't play good in big games, apparently. But I told you, when the lights are the brightest, Jimmy G shines the brightest. Personally, I thought the Cowboys were just going to have more. I thought the Cowboys were going to have more firepower, and it was going to be too much for the 49ers. And for that reason, I was wrong. It came down to the 49ers. Not even that they're a better football team, but they're better coached, less penalties. And at the end of the day, those penalties cost them. You can make an argument that the refs that play, the last play, but like Jerry Jones said, he doesn't blame the refs at all. It shouldn't have came down to that. If you're so good, you're playing at Jerry's World. It shouldn't come down to the last play, and it shouldn't come down to the refs. Why are you running a QB draw with 13 seconds left? And that leads into the player who I thought had the most underwhelming performance, and that's Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott plus Ezekiel Elliott, a guy that you have claimed to be a top 5 quarterback recently. He just didn't play that good. He threw 43 passes, only completed 23 of them. That's good for just above 50% at 53, less than 6 yards per pass. So he was just dinking and dumping it. A guy who has set many records for the Cowboys franchise. And then Zeke Elliott, less than 3 yards a carry, and he's the second or third highest paid running back in the league. So let me tell you this. Dak and Zeke take up 24% of the Cowboys cap space. 24%. So 2 players take up a fourth of their cap space, and they were probably their 2 worst players. And they had to be their 2 worst players yesterday. And CeeDee Lamb, Dak just didn't get him the ball. It was the same problem that Jalen Hurts had. He didn't get the ball to his playmakers. I think this kind of goes to show what happened this weekend for both the teams that we mentioned. The NFC East has to get a whole lot better, because the only reason that the Eagles were even in the playoffs is because the division is so bad. They were able to get wins against very bad teams, and the Cowboys were able to go 12-5 or whatever their record. Yeah, 12-5, because they played six terrible teams in the Eagles, Washington, and then the Giants. So only silver lining for Philadelphia is they have 3 draft picks. The silver lining for the Cowboys, there isn't really one. I mean, this was just a bad performance, and I don't think they can win. I think they can win with Dak. I don't think they can win with Zeke Elliott being their feature back.
So I'm sensing a little. I think we should start like a thing where we have like Mike's hot take, and like the lettering comes out, and then you got like little music. So we're gonna start that Mike's hot take.
Yeah, it's just. You can tell me if you think I'm wrong, but I think Tony Pollard at this point right now is a better running back than Ezekiel Elliott. Zeke is the best pass blocking running back. Mm-hmm. But other than pass blocking, I don't think he does anything better than Tony Pollard.
For me, because that's sizzling. I thought that I think I would say last season or the season before. I think they just don't know. Like, they know how to balance them. But then when it comes to the game, they just don't know what to do. Either put Zeke in the rushing game and roll off of Zeke and then pass the ball, or pass the ball and involve Zeke in that. I think they need to figure out what they want to do and balance it like a seesaw, because now it's just going up and down with the production that Zeke is getting, and then the production that Dak is getting with throwing the ball. And then not only that, too, you got to give the ball to your playmakers like CeeDee Lamb that's been helping you out, Amari Cooper that's been helping you out, and Cedric Wilson. There's points in the game where I don't think Cedric Wilson had another great game since that game against Minnesota. So you have to lean on your playmakers. And going off of my player that I was surprised that had a disappointing performance, Deante Johnson. I mean, Deante Johnson had a touchdown, but there were so many key moments in the game where Deante Johnson just dropped easy balls. Third and 3, Pittsburgh is driving down the field. You make that catch, Pittsburgh gets a first down. Then there's another play. I think it was another third down play where they could get a first down off of that, and that could have been some possible points for Pittsburgh. Just drop that ball. This is a common theme for Deante Johnson, because Deante Johnson did this last year throughout the regular season and the playoffs too he did this in the playoffs too. So Deante Johnson has to do better, and I agree. Dak did not play good yesterday. Did not.
Yeah. There were so many blowouts. Not really so many, but the Steelers got blown out. The Eagles got blown out. So obviously, I think it's easy to say like players from those teams. Mm-hmm. I thought you were going to say Big Ben, because he played, like, for Big Ben being this old, this non-agile. He played decent. He completed 65% of his passes for 2 touchdowns, but it was for only 5 yards per pass, whereas Patrick Mahomes threw the same amount of passes, had nearly double the yards, and he had 5 touchdowns. So I'm not going to blame Big Ben for that loss. I think the Steelers just simply weren't as good as the Chiefs, and I really don't think there's a team in the NFL right now that's playing as well as the Chiefs are. So, and obviously Deante Johnson, he's supposed to be a playmaker. He got the ball 5 times. You got to at least on one of those make someone miss, make a big play. So I agree, he could have played a better game. But that Steelers team really didn't stand a chance against Kansas City.
I think their defense did, but their offense didn't. Because their offense throughout the whole year, besides the fourth quarter, they always found a way to get in games. And I think that goes into Mike Tomlin's category on how well coached that team is. But everything besides the fourth quarter, they were always a slow starting team. They're a team where you can tell that Big Ben was just getting old. Like Big Ben can really do the things that he used to do. So since we're on the topic, who should the quarterback be for the Steelers in the future?
That's a good question. There was something about Russell Wilson is potentially looking, he is not potentially, he is going to be looking at other options this season.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they stick with what they got for 1 year. See what they have in that quarterback room, because they got Mason Rudolph, who personally I'm not a huge fan of, but they also have Josh Dobbs. I believe that's his name, Josh Dobbs. They had Dwayne Haskins. They have 3 capable quarterbacks in that locker room. So I think you give one of those guys a chance, because at the end of the day, what can really go worse? That team is, I guess you could make the argument that team's set up for success and they need a quarterback right now because that defense is really good. Najee Harris is really good. And their wide receivers are really good. But like I said, Mason Rudolph, Dwayne Haskins, Josh Dobbs, I feel like one of those guys is capable to win a few football games for you. And Mike Tomlin's such a good coach that I honestly don't think it would matter too much if the quarterback play is poor. Because Big Ben didn't have a great season. He was probably bottom 10 this year. So unless one of those guys is absolutely terrible, then I think they can win, at least make the playoffs with one of those 3 guys.
I got 2 guys. One guy hasn't even reached the NFL yet, and that's Kenny Pickett. I think Kenny Pickett would be a great fit for that Steelers offense, because I think the Steelers need a guy that's mobile. Because one of their big problems was once the pressure got to Big Ben couldn't do anything because he wasn't as mobile as, like, he hasn't really been a mobile guy in his career, but in some points of his career, you've seen his mobility flourish a little bit. And I think getting a mobile guy in that offense will avoid pressure and it'll keep the play alive. So I think Kenny Pickett did a great job of that in Pittsburgh, and he played really good in the championship game, which is going to boost out, or not the championship game, the bowl game, excuse me, against Michigan State, and the championship game too for the ACC. So I think that's going to boost his stock a lot, and that'd be a good fit. Also, I think Deshaun Watson, you get everything set and straight with Deshaun, and I think Deshaun Watson with Mike Tomlin under the helm, you have great assets. That offensive line is still building because that offensive line is young. The only problem that would be with any quarterback that walks in is the immaturity of Chase Claypool and Juju Smith-Schuster. But I think that's getting better over time. Those 2 guys, I think, could really make Pittsburgh a threat in the AFC.
I agree with what you said for both of those. I just want to correct what you said. Kenny Pickett didn't play in their bowl game against Michigan State.
Okay, that's what I thought. But
yeah, but other than that, yeah, I agree with what you said. I think both those guys would be good fits. I just personally think that unless all 3 of those guys leave, one of them has to be able to play football. I mean, Dwayne Haskins was a high draft pick. Mason Rudolph was a 1st or 2nd rounder, I think. Don't remember where Josh Dobbs was picked, but all those guys are pretty young too. So I wouldn't be opposed to them trying to go get somebody, but currently they're all low contract guys. You let them try and play their way into some big money. So we'll see what they do. It's going to be interesting because Big Ben hasn't officially announced his retirement, but it's pretty obvious that he's going to retire.
Yeah, and speaking of announcing. I think the Raiders should announce their head coach. I think it should be Richard Bisaccia. Did I say his last
Yeah.
name?
Yeah. Rich
I think
Bisaccia or however. Yeah.
yeah, I think it should be him because like I said, like we said about Derek Carr, it falls in Richard Bisaccia's lap too. You go through all of the tragedy, all the drama. Like this is not anything. This is not paltry. And what I mean by that is it's not small increments adding up over time. Like these are big issues that could really throw a team off throughout midseason. And this happened on multiple occasions. So if you're able to keep that locker room together, keep Derek Carr eyes forward and still on the path that he was going on and lead them to the playoffs and almost beat the Bengals, it's like, come on now. Give this man a job. This man deserves a job. Excuse me. This man deserves a job. And on top of that, Derek Carr deserves a 30 for 30 on what the hell he did this season. Give Richard Bisaccia a job, Raiders. Like, come on. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, what they did is they got a guy who not a lot of people would have given a chance. Rich Bisaccia never would have had a head coaching job in his entire life. Let's be honest, an NFL head coaching job. He never would have got one if the situation with John Gruden didn't happen. And what did he do? What did Rich Bisaccia do wrong? He led a team that everybody counted out in the toughest division in the NFL, led them to the playoffs, beat a rising star, potentially a top 5 quarterback in the final game of the season to play their way into the playoffs. And then they had to play one of the hottest teams in the league in the Cincinnati Bengals, and they held their own. It came down to literally the final play of the game. So yeah, I agree. Rich Bisaccia deserves to be the head coach of the Raiders. And honestly, I don't see I don't see a reason for them to look for someone else unless they want, unless Derek Carr and some of the players like demand someone else. But Rich Bisaccia did a phenomenal job, and I agree. I think he deserves to be the head coach of the Raiders.
Yeah, wow, 100%. And speaking of the Chiefs that we were talking about literally 5 minutes ago, I cannot wait to get on this podcast Monday and talk about my Bills getting 2 more wins until the Super Bowl. And not only that, I am announcing right now, if the Bills win the Super Bowl, I am going to Buffalo and jumping into the table.
All right, we'll see you on ESPN jumping into a table saying Bills Mafia is wild. But we'll talk about the Chiefs Bills game Thursday. Let's talk about some NBA now. Let's get into the All-Star game. For lack of a better word, stupidity of the All-Star game. Do you want to start, or you want me to?
Yeah, I think the All-Star game is like the Pro Bowl. It's just a popularity contest. And the All-Star game really needs to be different. Same with the Pro Bowl, but that's a different conversation for another day. Like, okay, I get Klay Thompson is back, but come on. Like, why is he in the All-Star votes? Yes, Klay Thompson is amazing. I'm not discrediting that whatsoever. But there's other guys that are playing better than what he was playing at 2 or 3 years ago. Like, you got guys like Devin Booker, Damian Lillard at a time, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan. The list goes on and on and on. I know DeMar's in it. I know Zach's in it, and Vooch is too. But they just have to stop this popularity thing with the NBA because it's honestly just snubbing the great players of an All-Star game. And a lot of people put that when you're discussing or debating about what player is better than others and they mention All-Star games, I feel like that shouldn't even be mentioned in a conversation because if you're one of the most popular players in the NBA, you're guaranteed an All-Star spot, even if your numbers aren't as equivalent as the other.
Yeah. So the Pro Bowl changed this year. So it's 1/3 fan, 1/3 media, 1/3 coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we saw like players who actually deserved it more get into the Pro Bowl than recent years where we would just see the most popular.
Mm-hmm.
But the NBA, it is 50% fans, 50% media for the All-Star starters.
Right.
So currently one of the All-Stars in the Western Conference, I'm assuming you know who it is, but one of the All-Star starters in the Western Conference at this point in time is going to be Andrew Wiggins.
That's I can see that. I'm not mad at that one. Because Andrew Wiggins is playing good.
He's been playing better than Paul George?
Paul George has okay. Time out. Paul George, right? Paul George was tearing it up early in the season. And then what happened? Paul George got injured. Throughout this whole that's the same thing with like the MVP race with Joel Embiid, Kevin Durant, or not Kevin Durant. Well, yeah, I'll bring up Kevin Durant, but that's the same thing with Joel Embiid, Steph Curry, and Jokic last year. Joel was playing lights out basketball, and then he got injured. Then Jokic went up in that ladder, and then Steph started playing good, which then it went from Jokic to Jokic and Curry just battling out in April, and then battling out in the next month as well. So I'm not saying that Andrew Wiggins deserves it more. I think what hurts Paul George in his All-Star conversation is Paul George being injured.
Okay, that's fair, but he doesn't deserve more than Cat. This is just my opinion.
Yeah.
And Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, a bunch of these other guys that have been playing really, really good seasons. Rudy Gobert is in talks for another Defensive Player of the Year, as he should be. But Draymond, I think, is currently the favorite. Andrew Wiggins is averaging 18 points, which isn't bad, but he's averaging 18, 4, and 2. Like that's nothing like to brag home about. But anyway, off from Andrew Wiggins. Anthony Davis, who hasn't played in I don't even know how long, is currently 5th for the front court. Klay Thompson.
There's no way. There's no way
Yes.
Anthony Davis is an all-star right now.
Let me continue. Klay Thompson, who has played like 3 games, is 4th. Kyrie Irving, who has played like 4 games, is 6th. Russell Westbrook, who is terrible, is going to be in the All-Star game. Derrick Rose, who has, listen, I love Derrick Rose, but he's currently an All-Star, and Carmelo Anthony will currently be an All-Star.
The NBA should, I'm sorry to cut you off, the NBA needs to be slapped to put AD and Russ in the All-Star game because AD's hurt. So if you're putting AD in, you might as well put Paul George in. And on top of that, Russ probably has built over 10 houses this season for how many bricks he has thrown towards the rim this season. It's just
yeah, there's a
oh my god.
But so not all those guys, like Derrick Rose probably won't get in. Carmelo won't get in because it's going to come down to media votes at the end of the day. But right now, off the fan votes, those guys are all stars. So there's a bit of stupidity with it. I think the NBA has to throw a hammer down and just pretend like they're not getting votes for some of these players. Kind of like what the NFL did, because I don't know if you remember when one year Jay Cutler on the Dolphins had like the most Pro Bowl votes, but then he didn't get in because he was terrible. But it was just like it was a thing on the internet trying to get smoking Jay Cutler to the All-Star game or the Pro Bowl, and the NFL kind of was like, this guy's not going to go to the Pro Bowl. We're sorry, but he's not good enough. So yeah, the NBA has to do something about that, and hopefully I don't see Russell Westbrook in the All-Star game because I hope for the fans' sake that go to the All-Star game, I want them to be safe so the glass isn't shattering when he throws the ball off the basketball.
That is insane. That is insane that Russell Westbrook and AD are somehow on. Like, I kind of want to do an NBA All-Star voting right now because I'm on the thing. You know what? Let's vote in some All-Stars. Let's do our own NBA All-Star vote right now. Come on.
I have done it. I don't know if I'm able to do it again, but I'll do my best here.
All right. So now.
Well, here, while you do it, we'll talk once you finish.
Okay.
Oh wow! Big news here. I don't know if this is recent.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Burrow wanted to play for Nebraska, and he wanted to transfer to Nebraska, but they told him he wasn't good enough.
Wow, that's insane. I wish you could do the bench for this. That's off topic, but that's great.
Yeah. I know. I wish you could do the bench as well. But while you're doing that, let's talk about the Chicago Bulls a little bit. Do they have a chance to win do they have a chance in the NBA? Like, just cut it straight. Not do they have a chance to beat anyone special, but do they have a chance to make some noise in the NBA, like go to the conference finals, potentially go to the finals? Do the Bulls have a chance?
I think they do. I think they do because a lot of people don't like to look past people don't like to look past those blowout wins the Warriors and the Nets had, because the Bulls beat the Nets before and the Bulls beat the Warriors before. Now, this Bulls team, as I was talking to another friend of ours a couple days ago about it, this Bulls team is deep. And having a deep depth is going to take you a long way in the playoffs, because if not one player is playing well, then those other players are going to step up because they're built for that. And I think Billy Donovan is a great coach. He almost had great upset series wins, one against the Rockets with James Harden and Russell Westbrook with a young OKC team. He took that OKC team to the playoffs. There's a lot of potential with the Chicago Bulls team. So for me, cutting it to the chase, the way DeMar's playing, the way that Zach is playing, the way that Vooch is playing, the way that Ayo Dosunmu is playing, the way that Kobe White's playing, so on and so forth, the Bulls definitely have a chance of making some noise and beating a top-tier opponent at their best in the playoffs.
So I want to agree with you because the Bulls are my team, but currently I disagree.
Okay.
For the sole reason, in the month of January, the Bulls are 4-4. They're about to be 4-5. The four teams that they've beat are the Magic, the Pistons, and then the Wizards twice. So none of those are playoff teams currently. The Wizards are the 9 seed, so they're a play-in team. But that obviously goes to, like, Zach LaVine's injury. The Bulls have played so many back-to-backs for some reason. They've played, I think this is their 9th game in like 12 days. So the Bulls have played a whole lot of basketball in the month of January already. So there's been a lot of basketball. So I'm not going to hold that against them. But just the way they're playing right now, they don't have a chance. But when they get healthy, I agree with you. I think that they can make a series really, really interesting with some of the top tier opponents. I think at the end of the day, they got to hope someone else eliminates Brooklyn, because that's going to be the toughest out for them. But other than Brooklyn, I think Chicago can win the East as long as they don't have to run into Brooklyn.
Yeah, I'm right. Like I said, no bias into this, because Bulls are my team too. I really think they have a chance, because if you look up and down the Eastern Conference, the only threat that really comes to mind is, like you said, well, the only 2 threats that come into mind is Milwaukee and Brooklyn. Other than that, it's just free game for every other team that they run against. So yeah, hopefully, I think the Bulls are going to get it together. The Bulls are going to make some noise. And the Bulls you might even see them in a championship.
Yeah, maybe. And finally, oh wait, did you finish your All-Star voting?
Yeah, I'm like, nah, I didn't. We're gonna say that one. We're gonna make it interesting. I did. All right, so for the East, if I could vote in a bench, I would do. But hear me out. Hear me out on one of them. DeMar, KD, Joel, Giannis, and Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet has been balling, Mike. He has been balling this season. And he's been a main contributor as to why Toronto has looked so good this season. I think every time I look in the game log, this man has hit like 3 threes or more at a pretty high efficiency rate. And for me, that jumps out at me, because he's not only scoring at a very high level, he's shooting the ball at a very high level. And I think we haven't seen that from Fred VanVleet this part in his career. So I would throw him in there. And then I would throw Zach in there as well, because Zach and DeMar has been balling. For the West, I got LeBron James, Karl-Anthony Towns. I couldn't find Rudy Gobert, but I wish I could put Rudy Gobert in. And like I said, I wish I had a bench, but I had to put in Jokic. Without Jokic, the Nuggets would be terrible. Would be so bad. Ja Morant and Devin Booker. I threw in Devin Booker because I think Devin Booker's having a pretty good season as well. So yeah, I have to throw in Devin Booker, but that's my all-star list.
All right, so I just did mine as well. So the East, we agree on everything. I had DeMar, KD, Giannis, Embiid, and then I threw in Zach just because Bulls fan. But
Right.
Fred VanVleet, I do really like that pick. And then the West, we had the same: LeBron, Jokic, Ja, and then I did find Rudy Gobert, so I threw Rudy in there. And then I see we both didn't pick Steph Curry. I know like Steph's obviously going to get in, so I tried to try and help out my boy here. One of my favorite young players, Dejounte Murray. He's been doing literally everything for the Spurs. I know they're not very good, but without him, they'd be even worse. So Dejounte Murray, and a lot of people, I saw someone was like, oh, he has the same numbers as Westbrook. Dejounte Murray, he does. His numbers are really similar to Westbrook, his points, rebounds, assists. But that's the problem. Russ fans look at points, rebounds, assists. They don't look at turnovers. They don't look at three-point percentage, and they don't even account for defense. So Dejounte Murray has been one of the best defensive guards in the league. He's taking care of it. He's carrying the Spurs to not their great record, but the record that they have. Most of their wins, I have to credit to Dejounte Murray. So yeah, those are my all-stars that I just submitted. But I mean, Devin Booker and Fred VanVleet deserve to be all-stars, and I think they both will be.
Yeah, I would even throw Anthony Edwards in there. Anthony Edwards has had a streak of him playing very authentic, great basketball. Is that oh my bad.
We could talk about the Knicks trade, the Cam Reddish, if you want to. I just had one thing to say about that.
Oh yeah, come on.
Getting Cam Reddish, it opens the door. I know a lot of people are like saying this is a hypothetical, but I think it is a real possibility, and honestly, I think it's going to happen. I think the Knicks are going to end up getting Zion. Yeah, they got RJ, they got Cam Reddish. Why not get Zion? Zion has come out. He hasn't said it personally, but his family has said it that he does not like New Orleans. He's not playing right now. Obviously, people are like, "Oh, it's because he's hurt," but I also think he doesn't want to play for the city. He's pulling an Anthony Davis, but he hasn't even really played that much. But he's been really, really good for them. But he doesn't want to play. So once his contract is up, which I think is after this year, or maybe they have a team option. I don't really know how rookie deals work, but Zion will end up in New York with those two. That's just my prediction.
I think it makes the Knicks more dangerous with getting Cam Reddish and Solomon Hill, because if we go back to the playoff series that the Hawks had with the 76ers and what they had with Milwaukee, and then who did they play before Milwaukee? They played
Philly.
Oh yeah, Philly. So I thought they played someone before they played Philly. So throughout that series, the main theme was next man up. And those were the next men that played really good basketball with them, especially Solomon Hill. Solomon Hill was doing really good from the three-point line. And then you had Kevin Huerter, you had Bogdanovich. With the Knicks, on the other hand, I think when people go into big market cities as their like resurrection tour, that they play a lot better than what they were playing at before. And on top of that too, like we look at the Knicks from top to bottom, and they have a starting lineup and a bench that could start almost anywhere in the NBA. And that makes you really dangerous in the playoffs, really dangerous. So I think it was a good trade. Hawks got finessed, but it happens.
Yeah, they did get finessed. That was, hey, I guess they don't really want to win now, and I don't think they even had a chance of winning now. But trading Cam Reddish almost diminishes their chance of winning in the future. But yep, that's all I got today.
Yeah, that's all I got. Either go Buffalo, and count on the days for the biggest game of the year, revenge tour. I had the screensaver ever since we lost against the Chiefs last season. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I believe it, man. I believe in Buffalo. I believe in that team. So we'll talk about it more Thursday.
Anywho, subscribe and like and comment on our YouTube page. On our YouTube page. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Subscribe to us on all podcasting platforms. It's your two favorite males, Michael Wood, Mr. Jonathan Keaton. As always, trust the process. We'll catch y'all on the flip. Yeah, heard?